thank you all for coming out this evening. I would like to welcome you to the July 29th Mayor and Council meeting. The first item that we've got on the agenda this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance by Scouts BSA Troop 1818. And if you would all come forward and lead us in the pledge, we would very much appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you sit down, I would love for you all to tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, a little bit about your troop, where you go to school, and then when you're done, we would all love to have a picture with you right in front of the dais. So who'd like to start off?
I'll go. Hello, I'm Daniel Whitland, currently acting SPL here. I'm first class, and we are Troop 1818. We're a Jewish troop out of Alpharetta, and we're all about scouting.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Noah Diamond.
If you would stand closer to the microphone, thanks.
My name is Noah Diamond. I live in Roswell, Georgia, and my rank is tenderfoot.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Jonah Horowitz. I live in Dunwoody, and I'm just a scout right now.
Thank you.
I'm Sammy Heaven. I'm tenderfoot rank, and I go to the Epstein School.
Thank you, sir. Let's hear it for these scouts. Item we've got under the mayor's report is the approval of an ordinance to authorize Fulton County to conduct an election on November 5th and a runoff, if necessary, on December 3rd, 2019, in the amount not to exceed $374,997. This is the second reading and approval of a budget amendment, BA 100-13300-07-22-19, in the amount of $61,145.71. Ms. Press.
Okay, well, we had our first reading last week on this, and we had some questions about, mainly about the early voting, that Fulton County was going to take away one of the sites in Roswell. But since then, everybody fought hard, and they have added back in the East Roswell Library for early voting. And they've also added in the extension of the hours for the third week of early voting. So they are going to make it 8:30 to 6, the third week of early voting. The other 2 weeks will be 8:30 to 5. And then they also did add in the Saturday voting on October 26th, also from 8:30 to 5. So that was really the changes from the first reading.
Thank you, Ms. Press. I would like to tell everyone thank you so much for your lobbying efforts. And we have been successful with Fulton County opening up early voting to more hours and more days. I am an advocate for voting, and early voting has been so successful that taking away any of that opportunity for me is just negligence. So I appreciate Fulton County going forward with this. This is the second reading, so I'll ask Mr. Halsey to read that, please.
An ordinance of the City Council to authorize Fulton County to conduct elections, whereas on November 5th, 2019, an election will be held in the City of Roswell to elect City Council members for posts 1, 2, and 3, and for municipal judge. Now therefore be it ordained by the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell, and it is hereby ordained and established by authority of the same that the Mayor is authorized to enter into a contract with the Fulton County Department of Registrations and Elections to conduct this election using express poll or other such measures approved by the Georgia Secretary of State, which contract is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and the remainder of the ordinance is hereby incorporated.
Thank you, Mr. Halsey. Before we go forward with this, I would like to make a note that Councilmember Sean Grower is absent with an excused absence. I have not spoken with Councilmember Zapata, so I'm assuming that he'll be along quickly. But at this point in time, for the record, Councilmember Zapata is not here as well. So having read the ordinance, are there any questions from council for staff? There are no questions from council. Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir, please come forward. And I would like to remind everyone that we do have comment cards in the back. If you'd fill them out and turn them in up here, we would appreciate it. But also for the record, please state your name and address. Yes, sir, please go forward.
Is this the mic here? Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Richard Lynn Hollifield. My wife and I live at 9680 Coleman Road. And the reason I'm here this evening, I'm looking for some guidance, really. We have lived on Coleman Road since 1984, and when we moved here, it was a quiet road. So my issue that I wanted to bring forward this evening is a noise.
Excuse me, sir. We have two meetings tonight. The first one is a meeting that deals with the elections. We'll adjourn that meeting and then we'll have open mic night. But right now,
I thought that's what you asked.
yeah, right now we're just asking for comments, questions about the elections. No, that's fine. Understandable. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak about the elections? Seeing no one approach, I'll bring it back to council. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it is Tizer, Judy, Palermo, and Wilsey in favor, and there is no one opposed. So the motion carries. The next item on the agenda, and I will take a minute to give some explanation on this, is an approval of a resolution requesting the Georgia General Assembly to allow municipalities to conduct with contiguous counties to conduct municipal elections, contract with. And the way that came about is what has happened historically over the years is every election, even though we have a service delivery strategy that we agree on with Fulton County, all of the cities, not just the city of Roswell, all of the cities have to step up to the plate every election cycle because Fulton County does have a tendency to come through with new costs, things that will raise our prices. This year they are raised, but luckily we were able to negotiate with them to get the additional early voting with City Hall and the East Roswell Library. If we ask our legislators to push this forward, it would give Fulton County competition in running our elections. Now, what I do know is there is going to be something introduced to the Fulton County Commission on December 7th, which the idea is that by a Fulton County Commissioner that Fulton County does need to provide financially for our elections. So the cities would not be charged the cost for an election. It would be a Fulton County expense. Now, let me tell you this. We all of the cities in Fulton County have felt the pain of this. We have felt the pain of negotiating with Fulton County every election cycle on what we are going to be charged. I will remind you that this cycle started out, they wanted to charge us $650,000, and over the course of negotiations, we got it down to $374,000. So it's just a dance that we dance every election cycle. And if Fulton County would step up to the plate and just say, elections are our responsibility, we will pay for those, and it's no longer going to be a burden on the cities. That's what we're hoping for. Like I said, all of the cities in Fulton County have felt the effects of their decisions, or their financial decisions as far as elections. So I am hoping that that passes. We do have a chance. I think that there is a chance that we cobbled together four votes on the commission. However, this also sends a very strong message that we can't accept business as usual with Fulton County, and we ask our state legislators to allow us to contract with a contiguous county, which, again, like I said, would offer the competition. So having said that, did council have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Judy.
So, Mayor, thanks for bringing this forward. I'm very interested in exploring this. I'm by no means against it. I think that open market's a good thing to look at, especially when pricing. I do have some questions on certification, delivery, all those different type of things that I haven't been able to get an answer to as of tonight. So I would like to push this to committee to have a conversation and bring it back for a vote, since we seem to have some time. We've already negotiated this contract, and before session and before the December 7th Fulton County meeting, learn a little bit more about what this looks like as far as the open market and the surrounding counties, what they have, how that works with the Secretary of State, Fulton County, delivery of votes, voting after the election, et cetera. So I'm open to this, but I'd like to possibly send this to committee and be able to ask some more questions before voting on it tonight. Motion to send this to the next available committee to discuss, and then hopefully bring it back to council for a vote. Oh, you said December. Okay.
Can you turn on your mic?
It is an August 7th meeting, but we do have time.
Okay.
Can you turn on your mic?
This cycle. We have negotiated for this cycle, so we do have time, but we do need, if we want to do anything, we need to get it to our representatives before the session starts, so.
Okay, well then
it's
send it to
something
the
we
next
shouldn't sit
available.
on.
Correct, okay. Send
Is
it to
there
the next fellow committee.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Oh, I
Second
think
by
Marie got there.
Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands, and it passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, at this time, I realize that, pardon? Okay. I realize this is confusing to you all, but from a legal standpoint, we are going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. This meeting is adjourned. And we're going to give our city clerk a few minutes to reset the recording, and then we're going to call the next meeting. So we'll just take a second, and the next meeting is open night. Thank you all again for coming out this evening, and I would like to go ahead and call the July 29th Open Mic Night meeting to order. This is a meeting where you are here to, you can express whatever topic you would like to speak with this council. I do ask that you do not point your questions at any one council member or comments toward any one council member. I do ask you to address this body as a whole. If you have questions after you return to your seat, if it's something we can answer, I am more than happy to try to answer those questions. If not, we will have your information on file because you've filled out the comment cards, and we will get back to you with that information within 24 to 48 hours. I would also like to point out again that Councilmember Sean Grower is not in attendance with an excused absence, and Councilmember Zapata is not in attendance. So having said that, who would like to go first tonight and come forward with your issues? Yes, sir. There you go.
Good evening. As I said, my name is Richard Hollifield. My wife and I live at 9680 Coleman Road here in Roswell. We've been here since 1984. And it was a quiet place when we moved there, and of course Roswell has grown. We know traffic is increased substantially, but it's gotten to where, let me say first, we don't live in a subdivision. We have almost 2 acres right at the corner of Coleman and Hightower Roads, and we live a substantial distance from the corner. And in the last year, it's just been really hard to put up with the noise because we've got some very loud automobiles that pass our road that actually, and I'm serious, they rattle our windows with their engine noise. And I've been to the police department 3 times, and I wanted to come here and present this to you and see if you have any guidance as to, is there a noise ordinance? I have not done my homework, obviously. Is there a noise ordinance in Roswell? And if so, what does it cover? Does it cover loud cars? And my second question is, we have also heard from a neighbor that Coleman and Pine Grove, I believe, have been zoned as truck routes for traffic now. So we're wondering if it's even going to get worse. But the automobile problem that I'm talking about, these cars have very loud engines, and they rev up Coleman Road and Hightower Road near my house. And I was wondering if there's a muffler ordinance or a car noise ordinance, anything like that to help me out. But I wanted to just give you, I was told I could do this, so bear with me. I have videoed this sample of this noise. Okay, that's so. I don't know if that's a good example or not, but anyway, I just don't think it's really fair for residents that we can't even sit on our porch or on our patio and carry on a conversation with that noise going by, and I just don't think that should be allowed to happen in the city of Roswell. So my question is there anything I can do about that? And the second question is it true that Pine Grove and Coleman Road have been zoned for truck traffic? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I don't think this is a question we can answer this evening. The first part of the question has to do with enforcement by our police department. And of course, moving vehicles are difficult for enforcement because they've got to measure the noise level, document the time, those types of things. And I am not even certain if vehicles are part of the noise ordinance, but we will check on that. The second thing is truck routes are established by the state of Georgia, and maybe a council member knows if Coleman and Hightower are state roads. For some reason, I'm thinking they're local roads, so I am not thinking that those have been designated a state route. However, I am more than happy to check in on that, and we will get back to you, sir. Thank you both for bringing it forward. Is there, no, ma'am, unless you'd like to approach. Yes. And please give us your name and address.
Fran Hollifield.
Thank you.
It is not speeding because the noise starts from a stop sign and it's just going up. It's a special package that these new cars are buying to make this ungodly noise. I don't understand it, but it's not speeding. It's horrific, the noise that it makes. And it's a special package that they have to buy so they can be extra loud. And if there is something that Roswell could do about these, it's just unnecessary noise for us to have to endure. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your comments. I'm taken back to my childhood. I had two uncles that worked on cars and put glass packs on 57 Chevys. So you have no idea what a glass pack on a 57 Chevy will do. But this has been going on since cars were invented. But we do take it seriously, and we'll check on it, and we will get back to you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I begin, I have another set of comments, so I hope you'll bear with me a minute. Every now and then you have an employee at the City of Roswell who exceeds your expectations, and tonight I would like to acknowledge him. Thursday I came to City Hall, just to do some business, and I met a man on the elevator, and he had his water bill in his hand, and I said, "Oh, where are you going, sir?" And he said, "Got to go pay this bill. It's my water bill." And I said, "Well, why don't you just have it automatically deducted from your bank account?" And he said, "Because sometimes I don't have enough money in my bank account to pay the water bill." I said, "Oh my God, how much is your water bill?" He said, $300. So I said, "Well, that's a lot of money." Well, I made a joke, and it turns out he was 85 years old. He lost his wife of 57 years the week before. He's a caregiver for his Asperger's grandson. And obviously he was a little bit distraught and confused. So I said, "Let me walk you over to Public Works. I'm sure somebody can help you there. They're good people." So we walked over there, and fortunately Mr. Chris Boyd walked out the door and said, "How can I help you?" So I whispered to Chris the situation of this gentleman. He's lived in Roswell for 41 years. He obviously was under a lot of stress. And I said to Chris the situation, and he had the graph of obviously there was a leak or something because the usage went from this to this in 1 month. And the old man told me he takes 1 shower a week. Remember, old people are afraid of the bathroom because they're afraid they'll slip and fall. So don't laugh when he says that. He's 85, 2 tours in Vietnam, 1 in 65, 1 in 68 and 69, so we immediately had something in common. And Chris took him personally to finance, because that's where he was headed, to see how they could work out the bill. And I thought, that's really, really nice. He was sensitive, he was sympathetic, he was professional, and he cared enough to take time to walk this man over there. I then ran into the man in the downstairs later, and I said, "So how'd it work out?" And he said, "Well, they reduced my bill by $150. And I said, "Well, that's a start, but you need to have the city check to make sure there's not a leak. This man cannot afford that." So I just wanted you to know that I didn't come in here with any expectations last Thursday of seeing someone go above and beyond and be kind to someone. But Chris Boyd needed to be acknowledged tonight to the public because it's important. We're all just walking each other home.
Thank you, Ms. Russell, and I would like to
Mayor
thank
Henry.
our employee, Chris Boyd.
Yes.
For those of you that attend council meetings, you'll know that He is a decorated employee with numerous awards, more than I can ever name. But it also just shows you what type of person Chris Boyd is when he goes above and beyond the call of duty and helps an 85-year-old man. So
Yeah, he didn't have to do it. He
thank
could
you,
have
Ms.
appointed him.
Russell.
Thank you, Mayor Henry.
Did you want to
I
go
do,
ahead and
of
start
course.
your open
I
mic
never
comments?
give up my open mic night.
Yes, please proceed.
Just a reminder, never, ever, that's why we live in this country. Good leadership requires you to surround yourself with people of diverse perspectives who can disagree with you without fear of retaliation or intimidation. Leadership is not being in charge. It is about taking care of the people in your charge. And finally, in a strong company, best ideas win, not egos and not politics. So here's my question. Back in February, this council approved almost $400,000 for a mini roundabout in front of Land of Lakes because someone knocked down the sign. I have the discussion that was here. However, I met a man who was the HOA former president, and he told me that Land of Lakes has been there about 45 years. So I calculated, and that means that Land of Lakes has existed for 16,425 days and nights. And one day or night, somebody drunk knocked down the sign. 1 out of 16,425 days. So we're now going to spend close to $300,000 or $400,000 to put in a new sign that's soft and a mini roundabout. The notation from RDOT says they had a neighborhood meeting. The HOA president told me 150 houses are in that subdivision, approximately 300 adults. 17 people attended the meeting. 10 were in favor of the roundabout, 7 were opposed. So 17 people, 10 people out of 300 get to have us spend $400,000 for their roundabout for mini golf carts, which is listed in here. The opportunity to develop PTV crossing to Canton Street. My question is, how many PTVs and golf carts are in that subdivision that we can justify $400,000? Just a question. Second part is, because I do question and people don't have much trust in the decision-making in this city, I'm sorry, remember, you have to be good and take care of the people in your charge. Maple Street cut-through, which is part of the Oxbow realignment, 90% of the residents in the village there were opposed to it and signed a petition. 90%. And yet, guess what? They're still going to cut through the cut-through. 90% were against it, but you didn't listen. 10%, no, 2.5% in Land of Lakes, you listened, and they got their way. So how do 90% not get the way, but 2.5% do get the way? People don't have trust in you. The last thing is this Together in Roswell thing that you're doing now. I just have a question. No one ever asks, when they ask for opinions, for the zip code of where people live. They only ask for the email address. I don't really give a rip if you live in Cobb County and you come to a meeting that you tell us what to do in this town. Zip code, zip code, zip code. Email means nothing. We've had petitions where people signed it who lived in Hong Kong. I don't care. We live here. Also, and this is truly a question. You had an event Thursday night at Gate City Brewing. I did not attend. I went swimming. It was pass holder night. There was beer served, and nobody had to pay. I guess everybody got one free beer. Who paid for the beer? And I honestly don't know. Did Together Roswell pay for the beer? Did Gate City donate the beer? Or did the city of Roswell pay for the beer by going through Together in Roswell? Because I don't think we're allowed to buy liquor for people ever in this city for that kind of event. And I truly don't know the answer, but I would like to know. So I'm reminding you again, in a strong company, best ideas win, not egos and not politics. And how many golf carts are in that subdivision? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. And there is a great deal of information that we need to get to you about the Land O'Lakes roundabout. That was a desired project in our transportation department, as well as Maple Street, and as well as beer. I can confirm for you that the city of Roswell does not allow taxpayer dollars to purchase alcohol. So I'm certain it wasn't the city of Roswell, but I'm more than happy to look into that for you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Claire Barnes. I live at 19 Revival Street, Roswell. Okay. I was going to address the first issue with Mr. Grower, but since he's not here, he, as to his, according to his website, that he's moving to Chattanooga, and there was a Ms. Telford on his website that asked him about his residency in Roswell, whether or not he was going to be short-term leasing and whether or not he was going to be a resident of Tennessee. And I was just curious because he didn't respond on his website to her question. And then the second part is, on April 29th, last open mic night, we had a discussion about Lita Thompson Apartments. And the mayor assured us that she was not going to be leasing, the city would not continue to lease those until policy was established, or like the Fair Housing Act would be applied to those apartments. And nothing has been said, so nobody knows whether or not they're still being leased, whether even Mr. Rohr might be using them as a short-term lease since Mr. Palmer is no longer living there. But we want to know why the city has not been compelled to comply with the Fair Housing Act. So that's just something that we would like to have an answer to. And the discrepancy on the leases there. I mean, there's anywhere from $100 a month to $400 to $700. It's all over the board. So we would just like to see the follow-up to that from April 29th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. I would like to tell you that I personally am not aware of Councilmember Grower's living arrangements right now, but I will certainly check into that. He is very well aware that in order to serve the city as a council member, he must be a resident of the city. So I am more than happy to confirm that. As far as Lita Thompson goes, I will tell you I did appoint a task force to look into Lita Thompson. It is being headed by Jeff Leatherman. And no, the leases are frozen. We are not leasing to anyone right now until we have resolved exactly what the future holds for Lita Thompson, and then also what Lita Thompson's future is in the city of Roswell as being owned by the government. So please rest assured, we are not leasing to anyone right now until Lita Thompson is resolved, and this council will have to vote on that. So, and we will keep you in the loop as we're going forward. Right now, they're doing an assessment on the conditions of the buildings, and that will tell us a great deal about the future of Lita Thompson. So as soon as we hear that, you'll see some momentum again then. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor Henry. I'm Richard Arena. I live at 830 Jones Road. I come before you tonight to appeal to your sense of justice, and in so doing, call upon your sworn commitment to protect and defend the constitutional rights of those you serve. The constraints placed upon residents' speech when addressing this council offend the prescriptions enshrined in Georgia's Constitution that government is to be impartial, provide equal treatment to all, and that public officers are at all times to be accountable to the people. While 5 minutes for presentation is generally adequate for most concerns brought before this body, there are circumstances when it is insufficient due to the complexity of the subject and or the amount of material a presenter needs to effectively illustrate their points. The council accepts this premise when hearing from zoning variance applicants, but as a matter of written policy, denies the same consideration to residents. When a Roswell resident comes before this council to express opposition to a measure they feel threatens their person or property, the protection of which is your paramount duty according to Article 1, Section 1, Paragraph 2 of the Georgia Constitution, it hardly seems fair that the measure's proponent should have no specified time limit to make their case and is free to rebut residents' objections without limit, whereas a resident is confined to 5 minutes and is prohibited from rebutting. Intended or not, this is a thumb on the scale of justice. To ensure that the council conducts business in accord with the constitutional principles officers are sworn to uphold, the following policy changes are recommended. 1. When the proponent of a measure rebuts a point made by a resident, the resident to have 1 minute to respond, up to 3 rounds of 1-minute rebuttals permitted. Number 2, open mic night presentations limited to 15 minutes when accompanied by 8 or more items to be projected on the screen. A second area where council policy runs afoul of citizens' constitutional rights is the rule barring residents from directing questions to council members. That rule conflicts with Article 1, Section 2, Paragraph 1 of the Georgia Constitution, which provides that public officers who are the servants and trustees of the people are at all times amenable to them. What does it mean that public officers are amenable to the people? According to Webster, amenable means liable to be brought to account. Being brought to account means a reason given for a particular action or event. It may at times be uncomfortable for public officers to be called to account by those they serve, but constitutional rights are not to be denied because they are uncomfortable. Now let's turn our attention to the meaning of at all times. Obviously, at all times does not give citizens license to go to a public officer's home at 3 a.m. or accost them while they're at church or at other private times. On the other hand, at all times cannot be limited to the act of voting, because that would negate the requirement to be amenable, as in called upon giving reasons for actions. Open mic nights, which occur 3 to 4 times a year, provide an ideal setting for citizens to solicit on-the-record responses from their elected representatives. There need to be reasonable rules, and of course, the presiding officer would be empowered to maintain order. If the positions you take in your official capacity are for the good of the whole, again as required by the Constitution, and you are true to the public positions you took while campaigning, the questions you receive will likely be for the furtherance of understanding. If, on the other hand, your positions systematically provide favor for special interests at the expense of the majority, those questions will likely be uncomfortable. As Robert Kennedy Jr. once observed, democracy is messy, it's hard, it's never easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arena. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, ma'am. And I would like to remind everyone to please fill out the comment cards and place them up at the podium when you come forward to speak.
Does this project if I put something here? Mayor, does this project if I put something here? No. Okay.
I can have someone help you with that, if you'll bear with us for 1 minute. Is Tim coming? He got it. Okay. Oh, there we go.
My name is Donna Melcher, and I live at 720 Creek View Lane in Roswell, and I'm a 30-year resident of Roswell. And I want to thank the council for this opportunity to speak about a possible adoption of the resolution of, the Roswell Resolution of Respect, which is on the overhead here. Myself and this group behind me would like to speak, would like to represent this resolution and then read it into the record. I'd like for each one of them to, the ones that are going to be reading for us, if you would introduce yourselves, and starting with Melanie.
Ma'am, I'll need to call them individually.
Oh, okay.
So if you would like to speak and then have a seat, and then I'll call the next person. And
okay, we're doing it in 2 parts, like I'm introducing and then they're going to read, if that's fine.
Well, if we could condense that and you...
It's no more than 10 minutes total.
Oh, no, ma'am, sorry. What we'll do is, if you would like to speak, I recognize you, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then the next, you can all take 5 minutes each.
Okay.
After that, that's entirely up to you, but I will call on you individually, so.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy if you would take a seat like in the front, one of the front pews so that you're, and I will call on you. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, you know who all is here.
Yes.
That is interested in this resolution. So thank you. What we're here for is we're responding to the white nationalist flyers that were posted in December of 2018 in the Roswell Square. We want to understand how we can respond to this in a good way and get this resolution for respect adopted by the City Council. So when it comes to the face of hate, which is the platform that white nationalist groups use, the Southern Poverty Law Center is a respected group for tracking the activities of these hate groups. And I won't mention the name of the group that actually posted the posters, the flyers, but I will tell you that the Southern Poverty Law Center calls them at the forefront of the racist alt-whites effort to recruit white college-aged men and transform them into the fashionable new face of white nationalism. They focus on raising white racial consciousness and building community based on shared racial identity and intellectualizing white supremacist ideology. So this group is operating in Roswell. And the Southern Poverty Law Center also publishes a community resource, What to Do in the Face of Hate. And it says things like ACT, it says things like engage leadership, it says things like speak up. And what it doesn't say is when little things happen, ignore them or, push them to the side. So, or do nothing. So what we have here with the Roswell Resolution of Respect is a response to this action. And we'd like to read it into the record. This has been reviewed. It was Mike Palermo and I had sat down to look at a first draft of this resolution. And then there was a review by the city lawyers that brought some feedback. And so this version of the resolution actually addresses that feedback. So I hope that something like this, this or something like this can be adopted by the council. And I'd just like to know, after we do the reading of the resolution, I'd like to know what is the process for having something like this passed. So those are my remarks. Before we bring up the people that want to read the resolution, I would like to just ask anyone else that's in the audience that is here to represent this resolution, if you would just stand or raise your hand, because I know there are other people here, and I want you to know how many people are here for this resolution. Okay, thank you. I think that's it. Just let me see. Yes, so that is the end of my remarks.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, please come forward.
Mayor Henry and Council, thank you for having us. I'm Reverend Melanie Eyre with One World Spiritual Center. We meet here in Roswell. I'm also personally a 23-year resident of Roswell. And what we had hoped to do, it's a very brief resolution. We had hoped, this is my fellow clergy here from various faith communities here in Roswell, and we were hoping that we could just stand here and each read a sentence to you without taking the time to have you individually recognize us. It will be no more than 5 minutes total.
If you would like to go ahead and read the resolution, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I would be happy to do that. Can I take a second and introduce my fellow clergy real fast? Keeping in mind I will not exceed my 5 minutes.
if you do not exceed your 5 minutes.
I will not. I would like to recognize Rabbi Alexandria Shuval Wiener from Temple Beth Tikva, who is right there. Dave Dunn with the Unitarian Universalists, who's right there. Reverend Sidney McGill Lindquist, my prayer chaplain from One World Spiritual Center. Rabbi, hang on. Imam Arshad Anwar from Roswell Community Masjid. Reverend Kevin Head from First Baptist of Roswell. And Jeff Myers, newly installed at Roswell Presbyterian Church. Have I forgotten anybody? Oh, and Reverend Ryan Young from Northbrook United Methodist Church. I will now read the resolution. Resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell to call for reaffirmation and broad recognition of the core value of respect in our city. Whereas in the city of Roswell Square during Christmas celebrations 2018 were found unauthorized flyers for a white supremacist group. Whereas in the past several years, incidents of hate-motivated targeting of religious, racial, and ethnic minorities have increased across the United States. Whereas the city of Roswell has as one of its core values respect and wishes to promote the broad recognition of the importance of this value for our city. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council for the City of Roswell that the City of Roswell does hereby reaffirm its core value of respect for all individuals, and that hateful actions or groups whose purpose is to provide a platform for disrespectful actions are not in alignment with this value. Be it therefore, or be it further resolved, the mayor and council hereby authorize and encourage the City of Roswell Police Department to investigate and act in accordance with law with respect to any such group operating in Roswell for the ultimate protection of our citizenry from disrespectful actions. So resolved, this 29th day of July 2019 by the Council of the City of Roswell, Georgia. Thank you, Mayor Henry. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone else in the group that would like to come forward and speak? Well, thank you so much for bringing this forward this evening. And this council, any member of council can bring this forward to a committee meeting, can bring it forward to discuss it with fellow council members as we move forward. Please know that this is, and I will follow my sword on this one, this is a city of respect. And we respect all of our neighbors, all of our races, all of our faiths. And I would never, never in a million years think that anyone on this council or anyone in city government would condone these activities. My only concern, which is in passing a resolution such as this, is to attract more of the attract more attention for these hate groups, which I certainly do not want to do. But like I said, this council can consider this. It's entirely up to the council and a majority vote. Please know, like I said, that this is a city of respect, and I very rarely speak for this council, but I will do it on this occasion. And I can tell you every single member of this council and our staff will not tolerate hate in the city and will not tolerate any targeting toward any group within the city, because we are inclusive of all of our neighbors, and I want you all to know that. That's a commitment that each and every one of us have, and we will not tolerate it. Having said that, we'll talk further, but thank you so much for coming this evening. And is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak on any topic? Yes, sir, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor Henry, for granting me this audience with the council. My name is Anthony Dunbar, and I represent the homeowners. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association for the Willowbrook subdivision on Warsaw Road. I'm here to inquire concerning the T-Splosh Big Creek Parkway project. December of 2018, it was the last time I spoke with one of the engineers, and that it was targeted for at least the part of the project for the widening of Warsaw Road was targeted to begin around June of 2019. And I was instructed to, part of my common area for the subdivision, I was instructed I needed to remove the perimeter fence on a section. Fortunate for us, I was behind in my task, and that fence never got taken down. But to my surprise, the project underwent some changes, and now I understand it's postponed. And I have held off on other infrastructure changes in our neighborhood pending, more information on that project. And my fellow homeowners would like, they would like some direction. They would like some information that I just can't give them right now. So I'm here looking for mostly timelines scheduled. What were the affected changes? We had lengthy discussions with the engineers about what was going to happen in the previous plan, but now I understand that's all up in the air right now. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Dunbar, I will say that there are some things in flux. There are several projects, transportation projects in that area. What I'll ask is our transportation director to get in touch with you and give you a complete timeline on any public meetings that we're having, any possibilities of changes in the scope of work, and just to make sure that you are up to speed. If you would be so gracious as to spend the time with him, I'll make sure that that is done.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor Henry, and good evening, council members. I am Sue Sharp, a resident of Land O'Lakes for 42 years, same house, same spot, married there, and say I'm going to either a nursing home or funeral home for my next home. That's our home. So we take great pride in the home, but even greater pride in our neighborhood. I am here because 12 minutes ago I was sitting on my porch enjoying the lake, listening to Facebook, and I heard Miss Russell make some statements that were not facts. And I am here to clarify that. For one, Land O'Lakes does not, has not, and probably will not ever have a homeowners association. There is no past president of a homeowners association. Matt Judy probably knows this well because he was born and raised over there on Land O'Lakes. His parents still live there, along with a lot of other neighbors that have been there for over 40 years. We are all very happy with the roundabout, and we're very thankful for the city putting forward that. I've stayed in constant communication with Scott Bruner on this and the progress. I've had meetings held at my home. I've let it be known by Nextdoor, whatever that app is, Facebook, and putting signs even on my mailbox because I live in one of the most prominent corners on the lake there. And people have attended. There are a few that have voiced concerns, but most, by the majority, overwhelming majority, agree we needed something done as a solution. The cut through is not working well for us on North Coleman Road. It's only getting worse and worse. Waze uses our whole neighborhood to cut through when traffic backs up. So therefore, we thank the city for stepping up to the plate, for looking for a resolve, for supporting the resolve. And I am here to once again tell you that what you had heard earlier is not true. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir, please come forward.
My name is Forrest Buchanan, and I live at 225 Nesta Court in Horseshoe Bend. I would request from the council that you issue no more building permits for either apartments or townhomes in Roswell East. We have just got too much as it is right now. You've destroyed our property values, you've destroyed our schools, and soon, after everybody moves in, they'll destroy our roads. My other thing was, is that I would like to see the city of Roswell get out of MARTA. We all pay the 1% sales tax to support MARTA. We have, I think, one bus route. They have told us time and time again that the rail up to North Fulton would cost too much and take too long. Just last week, they approved 22 miles of new heavy rail from East Point down to Lovejoy. I mean, we've been paying for MARTA for 40 years. We get a bus route up here that brings you down to I guess, Abernathy, I'm not sure. And then I was just appalled at the way they fell over each other trying to get Gwinnett County, what they were offering all but the moon to Gwinnett County to get them to join. Also, just you read this in the earlier meeting about how Fulton County tried to put the wood to us on an election. I was just wondering if we could withdraw from Fulton County. I don't know if there's any law that says that we have to have a county here, but I would strongly suggest that we do. I pay a little bit over $3,000 a year for a job program called Fulton County, and we don't get any support, any utility or anything from Fulton County. I'd prefer much more to give my money to the city of Roswell. I mean, let's Brexit both those, MARTA and Fulton County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. I would like to point out, I've been fairly involved in the MARTA discussions with GDOT and Fulton County, and I am completely unaware of any approvals for heavy rail anywhere within the system. The only thing that's being considered at this point in time by MARTA is the bus rapid transit. However, I would also like to echo what you said, which is we have been paying into MARTA for 40 years, and we've gotten very little in return for it. I would like you all to remember that because MARTA will be coming back to us, asking us for a referendum for additional sales tax to fund MARTA, and that's something that we all need to consider and remember as we move forward. I would also like to say that as the GDOT is building the managed lanes that will come up 400, and GDOT is working with MARTA, and the MARTA buses, the BRT buses, will use those managed lanes in order to efficiently provide bus transportation on 400. But other than that, everything is up in the air, but thank you for bringing forward your comments. The city of, the North Fulton cities seceding from Fulton County has been a long topic, a very complicated topic, and it's all just due to the level of frustration that we've had with Fulton County and their services. So thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir.
I'm Jason Yowell, 5010 Old Oak Trace. Whenever I have expressed dissatisfaction with policy to staff, the response is always, we don't make policy, council sets policy, and we merely implement it. While there are some very knowledgeable people on staff, it is the elected council that is tasked with leadership, not staff. Having someone on council that is familiar with the codes and ordinances and what does and doesn't work in the real world would be very helpful, especially when it comes to transportation and development. The dysfunctional dynamic is exacerbated when you assign liaison positions contrary to the experience of council members. The city should not be run like a church league athletic program where council persons are made to play positions with which they are unfamiliar. Leadership requires real-world experience, and council should not be a training program. Council liaisons are supposed to create policy as directed by the electorate, not to justify department-created policies to the citizens. This has been the case in the extreme with transportation. Per construction plans released this week, the intersection of Oxbow Road and Highway 9 is to be signalized rather than have a roundabout, despite the fact that there is apparently no space constraint and it will have through traffic in every direction, unlike the two space-constrained roundabouts proposed for the Gateway project that will have no through traffic. I suppose RDOT just needed more room for the giant crater where the hardware store is now, and for which we paid $3 million. The design of this includes the unnecessary and unwanted connection to Maple Street, which, like the overall design, fails to create buildable parcels from which some revenue might be derived to offset the great expense of this project. The crater seems an apt metaphor for the direction of a city that allows its transportation department to operate without oversight and supervision. If anyone can explain this, please do. I have been pleading for over 20 years for a continuous sidewalk on at least one side of Pine Grove Road. Roswell is no longer able to prohibit through truck traffic on Pine Grove Road because the traffic count has reached a threshold at which state law automatically removes that restriction. Rather than provide continuous sidewalk on at least one side of Pine Grove Road from Canton to Lake Charles, RDOT is going to put in a section directly across the street from what is already a longer continuous stretch of sidewalk. What is the thought process here? People are concerned about delaying the Gateway project for redesign. This road can be fixed sooner if the proposed plan is modified. As designed, it will take a great deal longer to construct. We deserve prudent design that minimizes environmental impact, cost, and duration of construction while delivering better execution at completion. RDOT has demonstrated a complete inability and unwillingness to value engineer this project appropriately within these simple parameters because their priority is maximizing traffic count. That is their holy grail. This is going to be delayed because the right-of-way acquisition fails to take state-mandated prudent steps to minimize the need for right-of-way acquisition. I don't have a problem with 4 lanes. I have a problem with excessive lane width and introducing a 5th lane for left turns and needlessly paralleling sidewalks to roadways when less intrusive and less expensive alternatives are available. I have a problem with introducing a second hideously expensive and environmentally intrusive and completely unnecessary second vehicular crossing over Vickery Creek. Even after creating a separated grade crossing and the second creek crossing at the river intersection, we will still have a signalized intersection, which is the principal cause of congestion in that corridor. This will not change with this design. What is on the table is poorly conceived and has been sold to the public with deception. RDOT has proved itself to be unresponsive to the people of this town, has perpetuated an air of being all-knowing because no one in City Council has ever sufficiently challenged the policies and priorities created by RDOT. Council is supposed to create policy as directed by the electorate for government departments, not to justify department-created policies to the citizens. The excessive width of the traffic lanes and inclusion of the 5th lane for turns and the median push the multi-purpose path on the west side of the road to within 2 feet of the curb. Comfort and safety for pedestrian and bikes, it decreases with increased proximity to a roadway. Is our priority to increase the comfort level for trucks that might otherwise select an alternative route, or the comfort and safety of pedestrians and bikers who live here?
Thank you, Mr. Yell. Thank you for your opinion. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mayor. My name is Alan Urick. I live at 430 Green Oak Drive. And I just want to thank the mayor, the council, and all the staff for all they do to make our city great. I had an office at the Hagen Center on Canton Street for about 10 years, from 1990 to 2000, and I've seen the growth and all that you have done to make our city great, from the recreations and parks through the different businesses that have been here. The Computer Museum now of America is here, and I just want to just personally thank each and every one of you for all that you do. Thank you.
Well, we thank you, sir. As you can imagine, in this position, we are here to hear your concerns and complaints, and people are very passionate about letting us know their concerns and complaints. It's always easy to sit back and not compliment another person. So thank you so much for coming tonight and doing that. It means a lot to us because we do work hard, even though we are, I do air quotes, paid. This is largely a volunteer position, and we all do it for what I would call the right reasons. We might not always agree on what the outcome should be, but we all do it for the right reasons, and it's very kind of you to recognize us for that. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir, please come forward.
I have the screen. I have the screen. While this is getting set up, my name is George Vale. I live in the Mill Village, 145 Kings Mill Court. That's nice. I did want to recognize one of our council members, but I'm not allowed to say that person's name. So the liaison to the public safety, I contacted our council members because in the Mill Village, about 8 weeks, maybe two and a half months ago, we had some break-ins with our vehicles in that area. I contacted the liaison, and she was very responsive, and subsequently, I was able to see on my camera on my house that we actually had additional patrols, and I very appreciate all the work and the extra effort and the public safety coming out at 3 o'clock in the morning patrolling the Mill Village. So I really appreciate everybody's and efforts on that. Thank you so much. Now, why I'm really here, and in addition to that, is I think this is my last opportunity. I think I've been in front of this mayor and council for 4 times already. But it's my understanding the city of Roswell has released the bid plans for the Atlanta Street, Highway 9, Oxbow Road intersection improvement. I am in support, like most everyone, of a traffic signal for safety reasons to lessen the number of accidents at this extremely dangerous intersection. Unfortunately, the project as designed includes a new non-essential cut-through street, which is identified right here, that goes from Oxbow Road into the historic Mill Village to Maple Street, which has no bearing on the safety measures of the whole principles of this project. I challenged the city's representation on how this project was actually presented and sold to the public for vote under the T-Splosh program, as it failed to openly disclose the known impacts of this cut-through street upon the city's historic overlay district, because it actually pierces the overlay zone boundary, the impact and removal of a certified historic property that the city owns, and potentially fails to comply with several other city codes and ordinances. To date, over 134 people have signed this petition. Over 90% of the people that went to public meetings in our Mill Village were against the cut-through street. We're not against the project. We're just against the cut-through street. That's not really a safety concern. So I actually went to the city today to look at the plan. This is what was sold to the public. It all looks great, right? It's really nice and simple and easy. But what's this big little blob right here that was unidentified in the T-Splosh? Well, guess what? Can you zoom out, please? Are you able to? Somebody zooming out?
You would need to zoom out right there. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the help. I do work in technology, but is a little different. But as you can see, the difference in this project, where we have Atlanta Street and we have Oxbow Road. Well, guess what we have? We have 5 detention basins, or pits, I call them. We have what I'm calling Big Bertha right here, which is a 25-foot deep pit right there against Atlanta Street and Oxbow Road. This is the as-graded design. I went to the Roswell DOT, and this is what they told me. This is what's happening. This is the plan. We're going to take the Mill Village and the Historic District, and let me just show you. I had to draw in actually a historic boundary because everybody forgets that this is actually in the Historic District. So what we have is an area that's nearly that's actually more than half a city block. That's going to be an open pit that's 25 feet deep. We have each one of these other 4 pits, they're between 15 and 20 feet deep. What is going on? This is lunacy. This is not a project. This is like a crater on the moon. This is not Roswell. How are we actually putting this project approval? This has gone out to bid. This project is supposed to be awarded on September 9th. This is our Roswell. This is our historic district. I'm passionate. I ran for city council in 2017 because of this issue. You all pledged when you were running for council that you were going to protect the historic district and protect neighborhoods. How is this helping? We're piercing and putting a cut-through street for all the people from Cobb County to cut through here, go down. We're taking a historic property that the city owns. I just can't believe this is happening to our city. And I'm so very, very upset. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vail. You're making a lot of assertions this evening that our transportation department is not here, of which I would have appreciated their commentary on it. I did see some back and forth and rather lengthy detail from the transportation director with you on email. So I will ask once again that they communicate this. This is the first time I, as the mayor of the city of Roswell, has seen a plan showing 5 pits, and I have some concerns with where this information came from. So I would just caution everyone to be careful about understanding or believing what you're hearing from folks. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir.
Mayor and Council, Lee Fleck, 435 North Pond Trail. As I assured you, I would be back. My wife has sent you an email, Mayor, and as well as Mr. Palmer, asking if this is the final report. What you have on your website indicates that this is a draft report. Now, Mayor, in the last open mic session, you made the following commitment.
I'd like to state for the record that the report that he's referring to should be to us within a couple of weeks. It will be presented at a public meeting, so everything that we see, you'll see, and you can see it as soon as we see it. So please just, and I'll ask someone to get in touch with you to make sure, Mr. Fleck, that you know when it's going to be presented at a public.
I've never been contacted, so I assume the final report is still pending. Now, I want to make some comments about what the draft report that's on the city website. Having read the 180-page report, the most glaring fact I found was on one single page, page 146, which provides an analysis of the workload of the entire Roswell Police Department by crime activity zones. That's this area over here. C, D, and E. 52% of all the crime handled by uniformed police officers occurs in those 3 sections, which is identified here in yellow. Now, this pie graph illustrates slightly over 50% of all the crime in the entire city of Roswell in 2018 was in East Roswell within C, D, and E, commonly referred to as Charlie, Delta, and Echo crime activity zones. These 3 zones are within the graphic area that has been defined by the City of Roswell as East Roswell. This definition was established by the mayor and city council with the advent of the East Roswell Economic Development Action Committee as the area from Warsaw Road to the Gwinnett line. There's the Roswell Police budget for next year, $20 million. Now, the uniform police portion of the budget constitutes $8.8 million. This one particular page is something that I have been looking for many, many years, because this monetizes your police costs like never before this city has ever seen. And what I mean by that is this outfit that did this report obviously took your criminal activity analysis by the various zones and broke it out. So when you talk about $8.8 million of uniform officers' costs are associated with this area alone, here it is, this area alone. So you're talking about over $4.5 million in uniform police costs go directly here. Now, monthly these reports come out. I get them every month. And every incident of crime is identified by a physical location, by an address. Okay? Now, I can go through this and show you every address that's underlined happens to be an apartment location. So when you take this analysis, 63% of all the crimes occurred in apartments, which means that $3 million of your budget for the police goes exclusively policing apartments. You have never seen these numbers before. This is something that your people should find very informative. And as a matter of fact, you can actually take these numbers, you can dig down further, and you can go by zone and identify costs by each individual zone. So, for the new apartment complex that you have approved, 425 apartments at the target, you will need to hire one more police officer and buy one more motor vehicle for the police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleck. And I would like to reiterate that we do not have the final report. As soon as we get it, we will set up a public meeting for that. I spoke with Mr. Palmer earlier today. He was telling me reluctantly that the principals involved with the company that is doing the report are dragging their heels a little bit. We should be getting it. I'm hoping that we get it soon. We have a new police chief coming on board, and I know that this report in its entirety will be very, very important to him as well. So we will be having a public meeting on it as soon as it's available to us. So thank you.
And I hope the police chief
Is there
will
anyone else
attend
that would
city
like to
council
come
meetings.
forward and speak?
Thank you for this opportunity. I have...
If you would please speak into the microphone. Thank you. And your name and address, and please fill out a comment card. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. My name is Shannon Gowland, and I'm at 930 Pine Grove Point Drive. We've been in Roswell for over 10 years now. Love Roswell. It's wonderful. Thank you for everything you do. My question is where you stand on 5G with the passing of SB 66 and all of the new research coming out, as well as other cities across the nation halting rollout, Bay City, New Orleans, as well as international cities, Brussels, which is halted. I was curious where you stand, where Roswell stands, as well as what research you've reviewed to make your decision, both industry, non-industry, thermal, non-thermal, and compounded.
Thank you very much. I don't think that this council is qualified to speak to 5G. I will tell you this much, that we are relying heavily on the information that our legal department is compiling on it, and we will rely heavily with them on the future on this, but unless we've got an expert on council, that 5G expert, we're going to just rely on the advice that we get from staff. So, and I know this is an ever-changing landscape. I just read an article in the paper about T-Mobile and Sprint and all of those things going on, so I think that there are some changes in store for us. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir, please come forward.
I'd like to thank you for your time. I have 3 questions, and you can answer them when I'm done. First question
Please give us your name, your address, and fill out a comment card,
My name is Jim Walsh. I live in River Terrace on the east side.
Thank you.
Okay? 3 questions. You can answer them when we're done. First question is, understand by public record that some of the certain council person is moving. His term will not be up when he leaves, and asking if he should even, or what the council's program is of letting a standing council member who will not be living here within the next 30 days, will not even be in the state, to continue to vote on problems that will affect this city and its people going on in the future. Question number 1. Question number 2. Understand that there has been active conversation between the city, don't know, been told to some council members, the city, and a group called Full Development, that is responsible and is actually sending out flyers and action items and requiring for the area of Kohl's and Petco. And their draft and their public statements show a 5-story, 350 additional apartments to be built on the area. The question is, and it kind of ties into the third question, is through multiple community meetings and since the Target situation. 1, there seems to be 3 planning development committees that all have responsibility for the Holcomb Bridge area, that area that covers Target, Costco, etc. None of the 3, they all say they have responsibility for what that development plan is and what it will be. It's not completed. I would request and want to know why are you planning any and allowing any building until those development plans are done? The question was, there's Roswell Inc., there's the East Side Community Project Development, there's another group, I can't remember the name right off the top. There's 3 of them doing planning. They all seem to have our taxpayer money being paid to them, all right? But the city council is making decisions on putting things in place before those planning commissions even come back with a recommendation. I would ask you to explain why that is and why we are not holding up on these. And thirdly, which kind of goes back to the original question, was at the meeting on Target, some of the council members advised that the people who were protesting were too late. Due to the community groups that we've talked to, they have wanted to go on record saying, we want to be involved when the Kohl's and Petco development process and communications start, so that we are not at the end and be set aside because we were, quote, at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will attempt to answer your questions. I will reiterate, I stated it earlier this evening, that Councilmember Grower is fully aware of his obligations as a council member. He is aware that he must reside within the city of Roswell. I do not know what living arrangements he has made. However, he has said that he will fill out his term, which will end at the end of this year. Now, I will confirm with Councilmember Grower that he continues to go by that promise to the citizens of Roswell, and I'm certain he will. But then also, when we talk about the Kohl's Shopping Center, Kohl's itself is up for sale. They had someone that was marketing their project, and they switched to another company, a very aggressive company, that took liberties on the way they are advertising the Kohl's property, which puts us at a disadvantage. And the reason why it puts us at a disadvantage is because you all assume that this council is approving this type of activity. We are not. This is a company that they have hired to market their property. There is no project within the city of Roswell and City Hall. As far as I'm concerned, this council has absolutely made no decisions regarding the Kohl's Shopping Center. I would like to further state that we've got the East Roswell Economic Action Committee that is working diligently on the economic issues that face the east side of Roswell. Roswell, Inc. is a partner in that. They have a seat at the table, as well as our city staff. So they are moving forward. I am confident that they will do great things for the city in general and for the east side. But please know, at this time, there is no pending development at Kohl's. Yes, the property is up for sale. We can't prevent Kohl's from marketing their property. However, that does not mean that there have been any decisions made by this council going forward to approve 5-story buildings or anything else. So please know that when a project comes through, it'll come through to staff. It'll then go to the Planning Commission, and then it would come to council. And I checked with staff on a regular basis, and there is no project in the works for Kohl's. So that's basically what's going on there. I think I answered most of your questions, and I would like to go ahead and open it up for the next person that would like to come forward and speak. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times. Well, thank you all again for coming out this evening, and this meeting is adjourned.